Hello, Dallisa here. I am so excited. Here we are, beginning of 2022. I have two very amazing, wonderful guests on today's show. We are going to be talking more about 2022. We're going to be looking at intuitive messages, perhaps what you can do to work through the energy. We have a new astrologer that you've never met before, FERN, that will be coming on. CATHY will be weighing in. It's going to be a really dynamic episode today. So I encourage you to invite your friends, your family, and let's all see what FERN and CATHY have to say today. I'll be bringing them on in just a moment, but I think we need to show our little video intro for 2022. And one last time in this series, let's take a look, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Frankie's joining us. She's excited too. Okay, without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on CATHY and FERN. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Before we jump in with FERN's first pick for 2022 in terms of the astrology, I'd like you both just to quickly introduce yourself. So CATHY, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. My name is CATHY Weiss. I'm known as the Joy Healer, and I primarily help women who are overwhelmed with life's pressure find more calm, because calm is a place from which everything else can flow. And I'm a naturally gifted intuitive, clairvoyant, source energy channel, and a healer.
Beautiful, beautiful. Welcome back to the show. And then first time guest here on the show, FERN. So FERN, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm an astrologer and an herbalist. And right now I've been doing a lot of work around ancestral astrology. So working with ancestral lineage healing through the astrological chart.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. You're both so dynamic. I can't wait to hear what you have to say for 2022. So FERN, I'm going to ask you to tell us, what is your first pick for 2022?
Sure. So 2022 is really going to be a significant year, probably globally, but particularly in the United States. And the year starts off in a very intense and powerful way. We're coming into it with Venus retrograde in Capricorn, right up next to Pluto. And then Mercury is going to go direct early on in the year as well. And the three of those planets, Mercury, Venus, and Pluto, are all going to form a conjunction in early March, which is going to really accentuate the United States Pluto return, which hasn't happened since 1776. So we're looking at, for me, when I looked at the year, there were themes around security, technology, stability, comfort, the relationship between the earth and the future, how we shape our future on the earth. So there's a lot happening. And I'm happy. I think we're going to go through some of the year piece by piece. So go ahead and guide me on that. So I can
get it. Beautiful. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And excuse Frankie, who decided she wants to be a part of today's broadcast. But CATHY, I'd love to hear any thoughts you have around that. So is there anything that came up in like your intuitive downloads around perhaps that accentuation of the Pluto return, or things changing or shifting with security, technology, comfort, stability? maybe how we even shape our daily lives. And I know I'm putting you on the spot with that, but is there anything
No.
that comes to mind?
Yeah, I'm like totally covered in chills because there is so much that's coming to mind. But for some reason, I have the REM song, What's the Frequency, Kenneth, like blasting in my ears. And I think this is about like, what is our frequency in relationship to all of this? Because the electromagnetic field of the human body is the same as the electromagnetic field of the earth, like the shape of it and the way that it extends out and away. And we have a opportunity in 2022 to be more deliberate about our frequency and aligning our frequency with the earth. And as far as technology goes, it's been the last 2 years, I think people have become more aware of the distraction that it can be in our lives. And when I was trying to tune into 2022, it felt like I kept needing to change the channel because we are flooded with information, but our guides are saying you've always been flooded with information. There's nothing new about the human condition, about constantly being like aware of new things, new things, new things. But the last 2 years, the collective awareness of it was heightened. And so now we're coming into a place where we start to realize we have a choice with our technology. Like we can choose what channel we're turning into, or if we're going to turn into a channel or not, because what we consume affects our frequency.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with what both of you said, that there is that sensitivity to the energy, but being more deliberate, as you were mentioning, about what are we aligning ourselves with. Because there is a lot of noise, a lot of chatter, a lot of, the way they just showed it to me was like ping pong balls, kind of like, going up and around. But that when we sit with the stillness, so I think meditation, journaling, working with an astrologer, working with a coach, like it's going to be critical for this year. So couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I have more, but I'm hearing like it's going to come in the next
part.
So we'll move on to the next part.
Beautiful. Back to you, Fern. What is your next pick for 2022?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of feed off of the beginning of the year because all of it is linked, and one thing leads to another. So with January, February, March really coming in this kind of way that we're going to be reforming and transforming and really looking at our future in a very different way. We're really going to need to kind of go back to the past in order to reframe the future. So Venus goes direct at the end of January 29th, and then Mercury is going to go direct February 4th. So there's going to be some forward movement. As we get into April, this is my next big pick, we're going to have a week-long transit of Jupiter in Pisces conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune is ruled by Pisces. Jupiter is the traditional or ancient ruler of Pisces. And when these two join together in the same week, which is April 9th through the 17th, we're also going to have Saturn in Aquarius squaring the North and South Node, which have recently moved into the Taurus-Scorpio polarity. So that happens in April 9th through 17th. And that week seems like it's going to be a huge shift in consciousness. A lot of encounters with both reality and this Aquarius sort of technology, communal theme coming in, but also with Jupiter, Neptune, magic. And I'm going to pass it over to you two to see where else you can go with that one.
Yeah, that was
so go for it.
Totally, because when she was, I was like, I need to grab my pen and write down that week when she said April 9th through the 17th. And before it even left her mouth, I wrote big energy shift. So there is definitely something coming in the early part of April. And there's definitely going to be an energy split in the collective next year. And where Dallisa was saying, like the ping pongs, I see an image of like the little gnats, like flying around your head, and kind of wanting to constantly be distracted and swat them. And so the split in the collective that's coming is there will be those of us who choose to focus with great deliberation, and those of us who continue to get distracted by the gnats, by that constant stream of information. And so the image that I got around that was like an outfielder playing baseball, and how she chooses to focus so that she can catch the ball and throw it and do her job, as opposed to being getting distracted by the gnats. Like, the gnats aren't going away. They are always going to be there for us. And so the split is that those who focus are going to have a much different experience beyond that week in April, as opposed to those of us who choose to get continually distracted by that stream that keeps coming in.
What a great visual. Yeah, we were talking backstage before the show today, and a lot of people that follow this channel, which if you have not subscribed, and I know we all have I've got it scrolled at the bottom too here, so make sure you follow all of us for more content. But I remember people that watch the show regularly will know that over a year ago, I channeled that there were the split of prisoner and pioneer, and that if you weren't deliberate with making that choice, that you would kind of continue along, that more restrictive, shackled type feeling with the restrictive energy of that prisoner energy field, I would say. And it just keeps splitting and keeps splitting. And so I think it's no mistake that you're both seeing just this massive shift of energy. And I too wrote down April 9th through the 17th. So we will be paying attention
we
to that
need a show.
Woo! Okay. FERN, back to you.
Okay. So the first part of the year, again, is going to set the stage for how the rest of the year plays out. And on April 30th, we're going to have the second eclipse in that Taurus Scorpio polarity. And again, all of the fixed signs except for one are represented this year. We've got Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius. Leo's the sign that is missing. And I want to say something about that at some point in this broadcast, because I think that's significant. But on April 30th, we've got the new moon eclipse, and this eclipse is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. It's a new moon eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus. And eclipses already have a Uranian feel of upheaval and revolution and surprise and sometimes shock. Add this eclipse to the Uranus conjunction. This is a really significant eclipse around, again, those themes of security, power, transformation, how we live on the earth, nourishment, fertility, life, and death. This Scorpio being death, Taurus being life. So pass that on to you. See what y'all make of that one.
Whoa. Okay. So April is shaping up to be pretty massive.
It's going to be an awesome month. Yeah, my eyes, I took some notes right before we started, and my eyes want to drop to this sentence that says, your solution comes in relation to the intensity and purpose of your focus. And the word that FERN used just now that jumped out at me was nourishment. And so it's like the intensity of how you nourish your own being is in direct proportion to the results. So if we take this sort of idea of going from the macro to the micro, from the collective to the individual, those individuals who focus with great intensity, I mean, and it can be small. It could be like, I'm just focusing on having a tidier, cleaner home this year, or I'm just focusing on ditching overwhelm and replacing it with calm, or I am just focusing on having more money and more freedom in my life. And the more that we nourish that which we have a desire for, will be that which we get the most results. And apparently that's all coming down at the end of April is when we're really being asked to be like, same thing, like prisoner, or what was it? Prisoner or pioneer. That's like where that path is going to get so wide that ultimately it's almost going to be too late.
Yeah. And I hate to sound so doom and gloom, right?
Right.
But it's what they've been showing in the energy is that you have to take your own personal responsibility and accountability and say, you know what? I'm going to start to choose differently. I'm going to start to heal myself. I'm going to start to nourish myself differently. And those of you the listening right now that are saying, yes, that's me, I'm doing that, then awesome. But if you're in that camp where you keep, I saw this the other day, it reminds me of this because they're showing it to me again. I was talking to a psychic friend of mine, and we are feeling the same things about this year. And I said, it looks like a salad spinner. And so if you're the lettuce in the salad spinner, it just feels for some people that you keep going around and you think you're just going in the circle, but then you get out of the salad spinner and you realize like, oh, there's a whole other thing over here. And I don't have to be caught up in this continuous loop of energy. And so I think bringing it back to the individual, I think will be really key for this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing to tell you like it, either way is fine because we don't know what soul lessons people came. And so even those of us who get stuck in the salad spinner or in like the eddy in the river, that it's okay because there are soul lessons and karmic lessons that are being played out. And so for those of us who have chosen the pioneer and the focused path, it's not necessarily our job to try to reach over and pull them out because that becomes just another distraction from our chosen focus.
Amen. Could not agree more with that. Absolutely. All right, FERN, we're tossing it back to you.
All right. So that what both of you are talking about makes me think of this missing Leo piece. So the 4 fixed sign, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, and Leo does not show up in any significant way this year. A lot of times when there's something missing, it kind of brings a hyper focus on it. So Leo is the sign, the fire sign that it rules the heart, creativity, and how we express our unique light out into the world. So I think it's going to be, one of the things that's going to help us kind of keep our own focus, the focus on ourselves in the midst of these collective changes, is to find that creative place inside and to tap into how we can express ourselves in that creative, heartfelt way. So just want to put that in there. The next date I'm looking at is actually May, and April and May are really significant because that's the first time when we have both the new moon solar eclipse and also the lunar eclipse. Again, both taking place in Scorpio and Taurus. Also in May 11th, Jupiter moves into Aries for the first time. It's going to be a brief visit into Aries before it goes retrograde and retrogrades back into Pisces. But that is a big movement there. And then the May 16th eclipse is going to trine and sextile Pluto and square Saturn. And it also trines and sextiles Neptune. So that eclipse is really, really interesting on May 16th. I'd love to hear what you all have to make of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that I'm going to ask FERN one more question just for, because people watching this, some are really good with astrology terminology and some are not. Yeah. So FERN, looking at the energy of that eclipse on May 16th, do you feel it has a certain feel to it? What energy or emotions may be coming up with that May 16th eclipse?
Yeah, so it's a continuation of the overall theme of the year represented by Taurus and Scorpio, life and death, fertility and transformation. But this eclipse, because of the easier, more supportive aspects to Pluto and Neptune, which are collective energies, and then that 10th square to Saturn in Aquarius, which again brings up some of those earlier themes, it's almost a sense of when we tap into our spiritual self, when we tap into our power, when we tap into the unseen, that's what's going to soothe and comfort and support us. When we stay stuck in kind of a rigid way of being, or we'll get trapped in the salad spinner, so to speak, as you two are talking about, that's going to bring more tension, and that's going to be the place where we're going to need to grow, is in our relationship with distraction, technology. And Saturn in Aquarius has a certain kind of coldness that is one of the more challenging aspects of it, of kind of coldness to our fellow human beings. So that's going to be something that eclipse is going to bring up, is How much do we value our own safety and security and life as opposed to the general sense of humanity? We may be having to look at some of those issues more closely then.
Interesting. Okay. Cathy, I know you're wanting to jump in there. So what's coming to mind?
Yeah, that eclipse to me felt like pulling back in fear. Like we're like, okay, I've made the decision. I'm going to focus. I'm going to follow this pathway. But then something gets scary and makes me want to pull back and get afraid. And it is a little bit of that, like, where is the line between me and my life and humanity and being a member of the collective, and that it's a little bit blurry and confusing. And for some reason, I wrote down not fame. Like that when we're focusing for some reason right now, because of all of the different platforms, that some people get afraid to choose focus and that forward momentum because there is not an aspect of fame associated with it. Like, what's the point of me focusing if it's not going to bring me this visibility or notoriety? Or the other side of the fear is, what if I do focus and it brings me visibility and notoriety? So there's opposite sides of the coin of like that eclipse is just going to like bring up the fear. And that's okay, because it's just an opportunity to recognize your fear and kind of explore it a little bit so that you can tenderly heal that last little bit of wound within you, to create a clearer path for the second half of the year. So it's almost like May is where we're going to get into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me too. And I love how we're doing this, where it's looking at the astrology and then your messages, Cathy, and I'm like, yes, that all comes together, because it does. It feels like there are massive energy openings and portals and shifts throughout April. And then we come into the mid-May cycle, and that it's going to ask you like, okay, now you've been through the first, 4.5 months of the year. Things have happened. Things perhaps have caused volatility or big questions in your life. Mm-hmm. And so now that you're here with this eclipse on May 16th, what are you valuing with yourself, and what are you valuing in humanity, and who gets what piece of the pie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And those are all big questions that, each person has to answer for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, FERN.
Yeah, and we want to answer it for you. We'd love to answer it for you, but like at some point, that's when it becomes like that individual part of the story. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We can help shine the flashlight, but you've got to be the one that says, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, FERN, what do you have next?
Okay, so, and I just want to say what both of you are talking about was a theme that really fits with that eclipse, is about revealing and things coming to light. A full moon lunar eclipse tends to bring a lot more, and I like the word you used, Dallisa, volatility. So there is a potential for volatility with that eclipse, but also there's a potential for really deep, profound, long-lasting change through awareness of some of the themes that come to light. So, okay, so the summer is interesting because oftentimes this happens in the summer through early fall, where most of the outer planets are retrograde. So it gives an opportunity to just kind of digest, integrate, and process when those outer planets go retrograde. And there's really not a whole lot of big stuff happening from like June through early October. One thing that does happen though in the summertime is that Mars is going to be traveling through, I believe it is Taurus, and activating some of those eclipse degrees. So that's just something to watch, that there could be some little kind of burst of reminders of what happened earlier in the year, just to check in to see where you're all at with that one.
And this, you said, would be early fall?
This is from, when Mars goes through, you mean? Or
the burst of the kind of return of that energy.
Let me just double check that while you all have kind of
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Summer 2022 actually feels really easy and light and playful. Like I see images of like, people running through the grass and there's like flowers and we're like peeling layers of clothes off and it's warm and it's light and like that little trip is like, oh, we tripped over a rock and skinned our knee, but it's okay. We pick ourselves right back up and keep going. So there is woohoo, good news that there is some lightness and some play and some ease in 2022 that has been, I think, missing the last couple of years. So it's just like buoyant.
Yeah, I would agree. Summer 22 feels kind of like a reprieve or a bit of a break from a lot of volatility that will be coming through the first half of the year. So by the time you get to June, July, even first part of August feels this way. It's like, okay, we need to have some fun. We need to take a break. We need to, do what makes us happy. So yeah, I would agree with that about the summer. So Fern, did you find the fall bursts of the eclipse energy coming back in?
Yeah, and it's actually in the second week of August, so that this happens. So we're looking at like August, probably around the 7th through the 20th, with the key date being around the 11th through the 16th.
Okay. Yeah, interesting, because I was feeling like, early part of August, but then it felt like there was going to be a shift like midway through. So it makes sense. The August 11th through the 16th, or broadening it out to the 7th through the 20th. Just kind of watch for a return of some of those May 16th eclipse energies that are coming in and perhaps triggering you again. So, yeah. Fern, do you want to talk about, or Kathy, did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Okay, beautiful. Fern, what's up next?
Okay, so next we enter back into eclipse season. And what's so interesting about how the eclipses work is we've got this first set of eclipses in April, May, which is Taurus season, and those are triggering the Taurus sort of end of the eclipse. And Taurus is that theme of, Taurus is the bull, so it's all about that earthy sensuality, and really it's, it links into the pagan holiday of Beltane, which is the celebration of life and birth and sensuality, sexuality. But then those November eclipses, actually end of October, October 25th, we're going to have a new moon eclipse in Scorpio. This is going to be at the earlier degrees of Scorpio, whereas the eclipses that happen in May were activating some of the later degrees. Also around that time, Saturn and Pluto are going to go direct, and Mars is going to go retrograde in Gemini. So super interesting time at the end of October, and then I'll save the last one for our next piece.
Yes, to clarify that, for October 25th, the new moon eclipse in Scorpio, and because it's not that Taurus energy, it's more of the Scorpio energy, late October. What do you think? Is that more of that transformative, maybe things kind of being unearthed, truths revealed? Like, would it be that kind of vibe?
Yeah, also though, I think sort of purging and releasing and letting go what we realize by that point is really unnecessary. What we need to sort of revive our lives and bring in more energy and more clarity and more movement. We're going to be really having an awareness of what needs to be released in order to do that.
Okay, beautiful. Kathy, what do you have?
It feels like home. It feels like a homecoming. Like I just keep hearing and home is whenever I'm with you. So it's really about a homecoming to not only your own heart, but like the people that matter to you most, and really starting to get more into relationship and harmony with the people you choose to live with in your physical home, but the people that you surround yourself with that you would consider like your chosen family. And that, as we've kind of gone through this journey of the year, that the fall is kind of inviting us to go back into this awesome, nurtured, held place, but with so much more deliberation than we've ever done before.
Yeah, I love that.
And the purging too, it was almost like it's almost time to purge your home. Like just start clearing out, because we just live in a very abundant time and we are constantly being given gifts and purchasing things for ourselves. And if we're always in receive mode and we're never in like make space mode, it can start to feel like drowning. So it's almost like there's a physical purging. Like it is time to actually clear, like that whole bookshelf should be empty so that we can create new space. That sort of an idea. Like it's almost like get rid of 90% of it, so that then you can be more deliberate again in this like environment that is so nurturing and fulfilling for you. But not until the fall. Like summer is playtime. Do it in the fall.
Yeah, I completely agree. And FERN, you said you have one more aspect you want to talk about?
I do. I have one more.
Okay.
Okay, so, and just to flag though, as part of that period, Mars is going to go retrograde in Gemini. And we had this year, 2021, the nodes, the north and south node, which are like the sort of our collective evolution, have been in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. So Mars going retrograde in Gemini during that time is going to really flag for us our shift in perspective and our mental kind of how we see the world, how we communicate with the world, how we take in new information. We're going to kind of have an opportunity to reflect as Mars stays retrograde for a couple of months. But my final piece is actually, that's all part of the whole season, but my final piece is this lunar full moon eclipse on November 8th. And that's going to, again, feature Scorpio and Taurus. And this is a big one also because it conjuncts Uranus and squares Saturn. So there is going to be, it's going to activate again that tension between the past and the future and where we are going as a human species. You know, what we're going to take with us is valuable, that we really feel is necessary, and how we integrate that kind of future vision.
I'm writing it all down. Yeah, what do you got, Kathy?
Collective evolution is like the phrase that comes into my mind. I very rarely feel desire to write down dates, and I wrote down that November 8th eclipse. So there's definitely a lot of power happening with that one. And then I wrote down pie, like a piece of a pie. So I'm not quite sure why. I just felt like really like maybe it is again that like what piece of the pie are you choosing? Because there are so many different flavors, but there is that I feel like that November 8th day is sort of heralding the collective change that we've all been like feeling coming, but didn't quite know when, and it hadn't come into form yet, but it feels like that's when it's going to start to actually wake up and be realized in a way that we can measure and understand.
Yes. And when you're saying that, the imagery they show me is that 2020 through 2025, each year is its own separate novel. And that in each year that we're going to be going into, it's going to be feeling very different than the year we left. Not to say that the story isn't continued in some threads or in some ways, but that each of these cycles is going to be represented in a whole new story, a whole new light, and in a different perspective. So I am going to attempt to summarize very quickly, just kind of an overview of what was talked about. While I do this, I'm going to challenge both of you to come up with a couple words that you think will describe the theme of this year, 2022. So 1, 2, 3 words, what your theme is. So let me go over the summary. It does feel like there is going to be a lot of significance globally, with a tie specifically to the United States for 2022. There will be a lot of themes around security, technology, comfort, and stability. And it does feel like these different components will help shape our lives and our day-to-day being. A lot of the themes for this year are going to be around our individual work, our individual frequency, being more deliberate about why we're here, what we value, and what we're doing within ourselves. January through March and April, There's a lot of interesting energy that's there. You know, in April, especially circling the week of the 9th through the 17th, it could be an indicator of a huge shift in consciousness, energy around communal energy, technology, magic. It could also be experienced as a deeper shift or divide between different energies that are here on Earth, and making sure that you are being very deliberate with what it is you're doing with your life in the day to day. Are you focused on your healing and being deliberate with your intentions, or are you getting caught up in the noise? We then go on to April 30th, which is also a huge day to circle with that eclipse. It's going to have an undertone of that Uranus feel of shock, upheaval, power, transformation, and also a theme of nourishment and how we are living on Earth. And as you focus on what you do want, solutions will begin to present themselves, but there will likely be an intensity around nourishing your own being. You may even start to feel what's for me, what's for them. So kind of the looking out of individual versus the collective. We could likely also feel for this year an emphasis on the energy of Leo, and that piece of the heart and creative aspects and how we are being creative, how we are expressing ourselves coming out into the world. We also have that middle of May energy that is hitting with an eclipse on May 16th, which will likely pull back more energy and present more energy around life and death, fertility and transformation, tapping into the unseen, trying not to get stuck. It could feel that some people are being cold, or you may be feeling a coldness to your own energy. But don't buy into feeling that fear or feeling scared. Don't let that hinder your movement and growth forward. That May 16th, probably very revealing with things coming to light, but expect some volatility in mid-May. But it should present long-lasting change that you can then take forward into your life. So new awareness. Summer feels pretty good, playful, but then the energy does start to shift in the middle of August. We do have the October 25th eclipse in Scorpio. Could feel like a homecoming, really understanding your values even more. What do you need to purge? What do you need to release and let go of? Deeper clarity around perhaps who is in your family or your chosen family, your soul family. And then as the year starts to come to a close, it could feel more like that collective evolution vibe, but also looking at the tension between the past and the future and activating that future vision. How does that sound?
Going to be an amazing year.
It's going to be a big year.
It is.
Okay, so before we close out, because I want to hear your words, and then I want you to tell everybody where they can find you and connect with you. So let's do your keywords for the year. So Cathy, I'll go with you. What words did you pick?
Okay, I got ignite your personal power, heal the energy of your concept of home, and soul family.
I love it. FERN, what did you pick?
So I just have 3 words: sustenance, sustainability, and transformation.
Those are big words. Now we see why, you listen to those words, even if they missed the entire video up to this point and they just heard those statements and words, they would feel the impact that 2022 is going to have on all of us as individuals and the collective. So, but before we let you go, because I appreciate all of your time and your talent and your energy that you brought to all of us today, can you just let people know where to find you, where to connect with you? So Cathy, go ahead and tell people where you want them to find you and connect with you at.
Absolutely. I'm the Joy Healer. So you can find me at thejoyhealer.com and on all the socials. If you look for the Joy Healer, you'll find me there as well.
Making it easy. I love it. And FERN, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm at wisestarsastrology.com. And I'm also on Instagram as Wise Stars Astrology.
Beautiful. And I have that scrolling at the bottom of the screen if anybody's looking for the spelling. So please go and make sure you connect with Cathy and Fern and see what they're up to. And I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us what you were getting and feeling for the year ahead. So happy New Year.
Same to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right, everybody. We'll be seeing you soon. Bye for now.